PypeServer Lyte is PypeServer's latest software offering to control automated positioners such as Tiger Stop or Razor Gauge. It's also powerful enough to automate workflows with manual saws. PypeServer Lyte can be used for any material your fabrication shop would typically cut, including, but not limited to, pipe, all-thread, rebar, or lumber. In today's video, I'd like to take a deeper dive into the settings of PypeServer Lyte and how they affect the output of nesting, cutting, label printing, and the overall workflow. If this is your first introduction to PypeServer Lyte, I would suggest first watching the PypeServer Lyte overview video that can be found above as a link or below as a link in the description. Like we mentioned in the overview video, PypeServer Lyte is a lightweight application to help organize your cutting sequence, automate your import of data, and nest required cuts in the most efficient way possible. During this process, there are ways you can gain a little control over the decisions PypeServer Lyte makes and customize the software to fit your desired workflow. Let's open the Settings menu from the upper right-hand corner and go through each of the available options. In the General Settings area, you'll find options to customize nesting-related data such as your default stock length and your kerf, or blade width. This is the length of material that you will lose in your cut. To get the most accurate nesting data, you'll want to set this to match your saw blade width. You'll then see a visual representation at the bottom that extends this area between the cut pieces and gives you more accurate nesting. The Import Manager is an optional dialog that lets you bring data in from multiple sources, preview, and customize this data before officially bringing it into PypeServer Lyte for nesting and cutting. Let's take a quick look at what this looks like when it's enabled. Now, instead of being greeted with a file dialog or a connection to PypeServer Cloud, we have this staging area that we can load files in from a local file, PypeServer Cloud, or a CSV and see them all together. So I'll grab a number of different items here and maybe something from PypeServer Cloud. Now all three of these sources have been brought in together. If a particular property is empty, you can set default values in the bottom left here. On the right, you can customize any of the data before you bring it in. Then either use the checkboxes and import to bring them into your PypeServer Lyte session, or just import all. Now back to the general settings. The next two options are for customers who want to set up a folder for their cut files and have that folder automatically processed to bring in new cutting instructions. So make sure this option is enabled and select the local or network folder that will hold the cut file instructions. The next option is the PypeServer Export folder. PypeServer Export folder is for communicating between PypeServer Enterprise and PypeServer Lyte. PypeServer Enterprise can export scheduled parts and delegate them to your instance of PypeServer Lyte. This means that any straight cuts that PypeServer Enterprise brings in can be sent over to Lyte, where a cutting sequence is followed and then reported back to Enterprise that the cuts are complete. With this feature enabled on both sides, your plasma cutter with Enterprise can focus on more complex cuts while PypeServer Lyte handles the rest. And with this round trip of data, Enterprise can report status back to any existing service you're using, such as GTP Stratus, M Suite, or even PypeServer Cloud. Speaking of PypeServer Cloud, PypeServer Lyte can automatically report back status and cut completion to PypeServer Cloud with the following option. If the items came directly from PypeServer Cloud with the import utility, this setting enables reporting back of the status, which can then be picked up and written to your model using the PypeServer Connect plugin. Just click on Settings here to confirm your PypeServer Cloud account credentials. Next in the Settings menu is the Display settings. These are options to customize the look and feel of PypeServer Lyte. First option here is push direction. Right now I have it set right to left, and that's why we have a green arrow facing to the left down here. If I were to reverse this for a different saw setup, click on Save, you can see that not only the visualization here gets updated, but also the information panes at the bottom will go in the correct order. Switch that back to right to left. You can customize the units from imperial to metric and back. Under imperial, there's an option to display the feet and inches fractions. You can also customize the text font size to match whatever's going to look the best on your display. Here's what it looks like if we go to 20-point font. And we can go back to my previous setting, which was at 14-point font. Reset column layout will reset your settings back to the defaults that you'd find on the data grid in the main window, the history window, and the import utility. Now, update label properties controls what we see in the information panes at the bottom and also in the mouse over tooltips in the illustration below. All of these data points came in from your import are available. You would then take them from left to right to include them or right to left to exclude them. Now, print settings we covered a lot of in the previous video, but it's a fairly simple menu that turns on and off the printing of labels, lets you select the printer you'd like to send it to, select the DPI that's compatible with your ZPL printer, and then give you some options as to when you'd like to print. By default, it's going to say print on cut, but you could also print before the cut. This is a toggle. And then what would you like to print is controlled by the label template, and our ZPL template editor can be found here under Customize. Like I mentioned in the previous video, this is an opportunity to find some data points on the left-hand side. Now these include things like images, 3 different sizes there, QR codes and barcodes. You can drag them in, and this green bar at the top will give you options that are specific to the object you have selected. So for text objects, you get their position and their text size, maybe showing the field name. For the QR code, you can tell it what field you would like the QR code to represent. I'll just pick custom field 1, and you can control the size and some other parameters as well. Once you're done customizing your label template, you can come up here to save or rename or create new label templates. Then you would just save the template and close the editor. Now your material positioner settings have to do with your connection to your automated pusher, your tiger stop or your razor gauge. Now my razor gauge here comes in on COM6. And let me show you a real quick way that you can find out what your connection should be set to here. If you open any file explorer, you can always right click on this PC and go to Manage. This brings up Computer Management, where you can then go into Device Manager. Now if you extend the ports area, you'll see that I'm connected to devices on COM3, COM4, COM5, and COM6. I know I'm connected to my razor gauge, so if I unplug that connection, the one that disappears is the one that I'm connected to razor gauge on. And when I plug it back in, you'll see that COM6 becomes active again. Well, now that we know for sure that it is COM6, we can minimize all of these and make sure that our COM port says COM6 here and click on Connect. It tells me I'm successfully connected. I should note that when you're connecting to a razor gauge in remote mode, you do have to have the razor gauge software open on their kiosk. So moving on through the settings, an offset can be set. Now offset is the distance from the saw blade to the positioner's stop extension face when the positioner is at home. Now this will accept positive and negative offsets, and it's controlled by templates. The templates are all listed here, and they can be edited through the Edit menu. Now this will bring up a template dialog where you can name and customize your offset templates. Push or backstop mode are different modes for the positioner. Push mode will push the stock length, stopping at each cut point for a hands-off approach to executing a cut sequence. And backstop mode asks the operator to push the stock themselves to the positioner's stop extension face. Use cut switch refers to a roller switch that can be attached to the saw, and it's used to inform the positioner when the tool is at rest and a cut has been completed. With the Use Cut Switch option, the operator wouldn't have to interact with the PypeServer Lyte interface to tell the software a cut has been completed. Move on cut cycle allows for even more automation. Once a cut has been completed, Lyte can tell the positioner to move to the next measurement after a designated number of seconds. You'll want to set this number high enough so the operator can remove the cut piece and low enough so the operator doesn't have to wait on the positioner. Finally, Retract Pusher for cut along with Retract Distance is intended to protect saw blades by giving the material just enough room to move during the cut operation. The positioner will push the material, then once the saw starts cycling, it will retract to give the material a little bit of freedom during the cut. Next is the cut instruction settings. This allows you to customize the messages that PypeServer Lyte will show the operator. If there are additional instructions that you want to add to the measurement, stock loading, or cutting, this is where you can customize those details. This customization then allows for PypeServer Lyte dialogues to have extended instructions or even be multilingual. In this dialog is where you enable and customize these messages. And finally, the help setting is where you'll find links to the official user manual for PypeServer Lyte. You can also build diagnostics packages and send it to PypeServer if you're having any software-related issues. And when we're helping you set up or troubleshoot, you can launch a TeamViewer remote help session right from this menu. Well, that was a deep dive into the PypeServer Lyte settings dialog. Like I said, this software can be configured to your desired workflow, adjusted to work with your exact SAW, and even customized to be even more user-friendly to the operator. Thanks so much for watching.